But a lot of ladies out there want to see the patriarchy as something negative no matter what. Well, that's a shame, because the patriarchy is just as capable of creating as it is of destroying. But we look at the sword of the patriarchy as the only thing that men have. Does that mean that every man is a threat? And does that mean the only reason a man is a threat is because of his manhood? If a man didn't have that sword hanging, ready to be drawn, would a man be a threat all the time? It's a big question. Marty's asking you that. Does that mean that a trans woman that doesn't have bottom surgery is a threat because they have that sword of the patriarchy between their legs? Maybe that's why women are threatened by trans women entering their space, because they just walk in with that sword of the patriarchy swinging around. Who knows? Maybe they'll draw it. Maybe it'll become something dangerous. Now, don't cancel Marty for saying these things, okay? Marty's just making an observation. Marty acknowledges that, trans women have to use the bathroom and should be able to use the bathroom where they feel safe and secure. But Marty still has to acknowledge those trans women who still have the sword of the patriarchy between your thighs, that's still a threat to women. Well, Marty, I'm pretty offended that you're not calling trans women women and just calling women women instead of cis women. Well, Marty doesn't want to erase the identity of trans women by calling them women. That's a pretty easy way to erase the identity of both trans women and women. If we call trans women women, then we're not calling trans women, which is what they are. And then when you call just trans women women, that means you're erasing the identity of trans women because you're not calling trans women, which is what they are. It's almost like you're ashamed of being a trans woman, so you want to be called a woman. So you trans women who want to be called women, stop with your transphobia, okay? Because you wanting to be called a woman means that you are transphobic to yourself and are afraid to be just called a trans woman. Now, don't cancel Marty for saying these things. Marty doesn't know a lot about trans identity or the books or the research that surrounds it. But Marty uses his logic and his mind and starts to think for himself in order to understand what that means. You still have that sword of the patriarchy between your legs, and that's okay. It's okay to have the sword of the patriarchy between your legs. The sword is a beautiful, wonderful thing. It's been crafted, right? Forged in fires over centuries, millennia. Marty thinks that you trans women should be very proud to have that sword of the patriarchy, just like men should be proud to have that sword of the patriarchy between their legs. Just like men should be proud to have that manhood between their legs. If you're a trans woman and you still have the sword of the patriarchy between your legs, would you still call it your manhood? If you are a trans woman, then it would no longer be your manhood, would it? It would then transition with you. We love to use these words and phrases, and we don't really know what it means, and then people kind of make it up, and then they expect other people to just hop on board to how they make it up. Everyone has their own dictionary these days, and I think Webster intended for the dictionary to be used in a universal way. Don't cancel Marty, okay? Marty is not a transphobe. He just has a lot of questions, and he sees things in a certain way and wants to communicate it. This is Marty's truth. Don't get mad at Marty because he's speaking his truth. This is the way he sees the world. And Marty doesn't want to condone any kind of violence, any kind of hatred towards these individuals. But he thinks that if you're going to force men to deal with the fact that they are part of this patriarchy with the sword of the patriarchy between their thighs, then maybe everybody else should actually acknowledge their presence and participation in this patriarchy. That's right. And maybe us men should be offended. That's right. Marty's going to say it. Us men should be offended by the fact that trans women have appropriated our penises. We had the penis first, okay? We had the sword first. When you appropriate the penis and you take it and you say that it's yours, you don't give credit to those who had it first. Sorry, Marty went off the rails a little bit there. Maybe Marty's just a little bit jealous. That's right, Marty's admitting it. Maybe Marty's a little bit jealous of trans women who still have their womanhood, because they're allowed to love their womanhood. They're allowed to love their lingam or their yoni or their female lingam, however you want to identify it. They're allowed to love and respect and show off their lingam. But men are still forced to hate their lingam, to feel ashamed of it, to feel like it's just something separate from their body, not a part of their soul and their spirit. So yeah, Marty's a little jealous. So Marty apologizes to the trans women out there. He apologizes. Marty wishes that men were allowed to be offended by the fact that women are threatened by their penis.